Greetings and welcome back to the lab, and welcome to a new series called How Bad Is It? So this is a series where I buy stuff on eBay where the listings, apparently the people who do the listings can't spell. And for this particular one, this was a night version camera. In a little bit of a different form. I keep seeing that over and over. It's not night vision, it's night version. If you go searching for one or the other, they're kind of mutually exclusive. You don't usually get night version vision like you get in a lot of titles, where they'll say both words, or they'll have a lot of different words in there just to make sure that people find it. For some reason, I've noticed this. So there's others that I've seen, and so that's going to be the idea of this particular series. Is we're going to order something up, we're going to open it, we're going to try it out, we're going to see. So it's an unbox and test, but it's also taking advantage of some poor spelling. So let's see what this night version camera looks like. And this one I got locally. It is made in China. It looks like it's probably just a Chinese seller who has a U.S. Warehouse. And it cost me, I think less than $5, maybe a little over. Okay, now we start to get a hint of what this actually is. It's not just a camera. It's something to do with birds. Wow, this is tightly packed. So I'll give the seller some points for packing it reasonably well, and the fact that it's still in a box. They didn't take it out of the box just to make it lighter shipping. So is there anything else here? Well, that might give you an even better clue of what this is supposed to be, but it's an interesting, just sort of plain brown box. Let's open it up and see what we have, and if there's any instructions, and if the instructions have any semblance of English. Being sold in the U.S. So what this actually is, with all of its hardware and such, is a bird feeder that you can hang in multiple different ways, apparently. It's got a little keyhole on the back here, so you could have a screw and mount it on a wall. And it looks like it's got holes on the top here, so you can hang it by a chain, and I think that's what this is here. This is the hanging options, and it also has a perch that I can put down here. I'm trying to figure out how the camera goes in. So let's see what else we have. Okay, it did say that it came with a card, memory card. And this does appear to be a 16 gigabyte card. So, I mean, if nothing else, for $5 I got a 16 gigabyte card, though the question is going to be the quality. This appears to be the camera, which has a protective cover. What? Oh, it's like a piece of metal that I can use somewhere, and there's a magnet on the back. So I can do that. And it's supposedly 3M. I'm not sure if that's even the right logo for 3M. That's supposed to be... That's WE is what it looks like. So it's not actually 3M. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, there's a stand, which I think is supposed to also be magnetic. Or at least it has the metal piece. Let me see if I got a piece of metal around here that I can use. Oh, huh. Silly me. I don't know if this is magnetic by itself. No. Either this is a magnet, or that is... Now, the mat that I have, not the blue mat, but the mat I have on my desk, is actually metal backed. So if this was a magnet, it would stick. And it does not. So this is just a piece of metal, but this has a magnet and that has a magnet, so that's interesting. And of course this is a charging cable Some of this was already here. Let's see. This instructions in microprint. Okay, I'm going to have to take off my glasses to read this. Okay. HD IoT camera. I guess they mean Internet of Things. Installation app. Mobile phones scan the following QR code for download and installation. Android HD IoT camera, iOS version 99.cam. Well, I don't have an iPhone, but let me actually put this down here somewhat flat and leave it for a moment, and hopefully there's not too much shine if you want to actually try and capture this, screen capture this, and get the QR code for yourself if you're curious. Of course, you probably need the actual camera. So then beyond that, it says connection method, no network connection. Connect the machine's own hotspot, the hotspot at the beginning of BAT. Click connect. After the link is successful, return to app as shown in the following figure. Huh. So this might be app enabled only, and I've been thinking about it, and I have an old phone that I could probably use. It doesn't have data. It doesn't connect to the internet. I mean, it can connect to Wi-Fi here, but I need to charge that up if I'm going to do a test with that one instead of using my main phone, just in case there's a security issue. After entering the page, follow the steps below. No network link been completed. You can watch the video closely. Connection method 2, internet connection. Okay, so there's two ways of doing it. One with the internet connection, one without. Connect the machine's own hotspot. The hotspot at the beginning of BAT. B-A-T in capitals. Click connect. After the link is successful, return to app as shown in the following figure. Find your own Wi-Fi account and enter the password correctly, then click OK to return. When you return to the app, you will see that the reminder link is successful. At this time, you can click the play button to view the screen, and the remote setting is successful. Alright, well, I've seen much worse than this, so out of 10, I'd probably give this a 5. It's really kind of middle of the road. You could figure out what they're trying to say, but you do have to think it through what they're trying to say. So I'm going to give that 5 out of 10. I can't really do anything with the camera right now because I need to charge my old phone. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this thing charging up as well as the phone, and for you, I'll be right back. For me, it may take a couple hours, and we'll see if we can figure out. You know, it doesn't, now that I think of it, it doesn't mention anywhere in here. It just tells you about the camera. It doesn't say anything about how you mount the camera to this. So let's see if I can figure out. Oh, I bet the idea is supposed to be put the camera inside, put a piece of metal outside, something like that. Well, that didn't hold it very well. But, I mean, theoretically, I could use this. Oh, yep, they do hold. Well, no, it doesn't hold that well. So I'm not sure how you're supposed to mount this camera. So I might have to figure that out, too, while I'm charging everything. So, yep, I'll be back in a moment. Well, this has been kind of fun. I'm going to show you a couple of clips here. First, I'll show you what the camera actually records, and that does mean that I did get it working. Then I will show you what if you modify it to make it as advertised. It says 1080p. It turns out Actually, before I show you that, I'll just sort of give you some numbers here. This actually you can ignore. That was just me. I was going to keep track of how long it took for the camera to charge, but that didn't really work. It gave me all sorts of problems, and it got to a point where I ended up ultimately taking it apart, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it turns out that what the camera is recording is 640 by 960. And if you take the 640 and multiply it by 3, you end up with the 1920. That is part of what they're advertising. Then you have to take the 960 and stretch it to 1080 to get actual HD. And it's not really HD. And the quality, as you can see, really wasn't very good. So I'll go ahead and play you. If I stretch it out, then the aspect ratio gets fixed. It's squished badly, and then if you stretch it out, it ends up looking kind of normal. But let's just go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, that activated something. And now you're going to hear an echo. And I left the audio in there so you could kind of hear how the audio sounds when I tried to record. I've also got a clip from another camera where I was trying to figure out how to demonstrate what the app looks like. It's not very good, and it is definitely not intuitive. So what I would say is, if I was going to give this a technical rating in terms of the electronics of the device, somewhere between -5, I know this sounds weird, and 5, where 5 is, hey, out of the box it's perfect. -5 is, what were they thinking? Why even bother? And 0 being kind of, if you're willing to, 0 if you're willing to try and get it working. You have the patience to try and figure out what's going on. There's a lack of instructions, or the instructions are not totally clear. Out of this, I'd probably give this seriously about a -2. It does function. It's not a what were they thinking or why even bother kind of thing, unless you don't have the patience at 0, in which case then -2 is below your patience, and why bother? So for some of us, it's kind of an interesting experiment to try and get it working, but you can see the quality is definitely not as advertised. And this is what I ended up, when I took it apart, I ended up with these 2 itty-bitty little screws. Let me see if I can kind of basically piece it back together. There's a couple of screws here and here that you can remove, and they're self-tapping screws, and they're kind of hard to remove. It's a little crinkly when you try and take it out, but ultimately once you do that, you get this out. There's that magnet, and actually, as it turns out, that should, oh, I got to remember, magnets are only attracted in one direction, so that does work, but this is not the best way to work with this. This I'm guessing was so that you could peel this thing off and stick it to a wall and then have your camera, which isn't really using it with the bird feeder. By the way, the bird feeder is outside right now. It's got some bird seed in it, and we'll see if I get any birds coming by, and if I do, I have another camera covering it, so we'll be able to look at that. Now, what I ended up doing with the bird feeder, because I wanted to try and test it, and I wanted to figure out what they were intending. There was that little metal disc that had some adhesive on the back of it. I peeled the adhesive off. I stuck it into the middle of the bird feeder. The idea was supposed to be that sits on the back of the bird feeder, just on the plastic, and this magnet then attracts to it so you can put the camera in the middle of the bird feeder. Well, this is not worth putting in, especially considering this pouch battery looks really bad. It's really puffed up. So I don't really trust putting this anywhere or trying to use it. Now, I did get it functioning. I did obviously manage to get it to a point where I could show you some clips from it. But I don't know that I think this battery is going straight into recycling. What I might do in a future video is I might go through and peel this off and attach a different battery that's in better shape. The other problem is I probably wouldn't leave it inside this enclosure, because at one point while I was trying to record, I got a message saying something about, I forget exactly what the message was, but it was a little bit scary. It was kind of like, it implied that it was overheating. It sounded like it was overheating, and I think that's the case, because this camera, oh wow, I didn't even realize, this is not even secured. This is supposed to be stuck down. I guess it's just a pressure fit to get the camera in there. There's a little bit of, there's a connector here. I could harvest this camera if I really wanted to, but it's not very good quality. But the other thing is, when it's pushed up against the board here, this, or the circuitry actually probably underneath, I need to peel this battery off carefully and take a look. The circuitry underneath is generating a lot of heat, and I think that's why this battery puffed up the way it did. So I don't think this is a good product to start with, because of the design flaw of putting the battery, which is heat sensitive, right against the hottest part of the circuit board. Let's see if I can actually peel this off. Do I have anything I can use to safely try to peel it off? And for that matter, Big Clive has his explosive containment pie dish. This is my version of that. Looking for something I can use to get this off. Give me a moment, I'll be right back. Alright, I was considering using this circuit board material, but then I realized I have my tweezers here, which actually I can use the blunt end here and very carefully try to pry this off. If something goes horribly wrong, I'll put it in here, I'll take it outside, I'll let it do what it's going to do, and then we'll just forget about it. So if I run away suddenly, that's what's going on. Let's see if we can't carefully pry this off. Trying not to get anything sharp in there. I'm hoping this is blunt enough. And the camera should be off at this point. Or the battery is probably dead. There we go. Okay. That is the battery unstuck. Oh, there we go. We've got double-sided tape holding it on. Let's get the double-sided tape off of there. Yep. And there's your processor. That's what's generating all the heat. And there's your antenna for the Wi-Fi. Just make sure that's not heating up on me. Yep, I think we're good. At some point I'll try and figure out what the capacity of this was supposed to be. And maybe I'll do a project where I try and extend the battery out. But then the chance of waterproofing it is... I just don't know that this is actually going to be worth the effort. So, unfortunately, it's not a great product. Like I said, I'll probably give it a -2 on sort of the technical, in terms of the quality of the video. Well, it's functional, so -5 to 5. Maybe I'll give it a 0. Just because it does actually function. But it's not so bad that it's unrecognizable, and it's not, certainly not the quality. I mean, I'd give it a 5 if it gave me the quality that they were promising, which is a HD 1920 by 1080p. No, certainly not. It didn't give me that. So, yeah, a 0 for the quality of the video, -2 for the quality of the electronics, or just being able to actually get it to work. The quality of the electronics, I'm going to give it a -5 because they shouldn't have put the battery right on top of the processor. That's really dumb. Yeah, and you can find these all over the place, I'm sure. But you know what? In the end, I ended up getting a memory card. The camera's not really worth much. Maybe the magnets are worth something for another project, just to harvest stuff. The battery, if it hadn't puffed up like this, that would be a usable battery. Actually, now that I think about it, I probably shouldn't keep it in there because it might short out and short the battery. It's not heating up, so I'm good there. And I got the bird feeder out of it, so I get to watch the birds, enjoy a bird feeder. So, not a total loss, and it was only $5, but really in my book it's worth like 50 cents or $1, because you're really just getting the bird feeder. Okay, maybe a little bit more because you end up with a usable memory card. I put the memory card in another device and it's working, so it hasn't failed yet. If it does somehow, I'll update it. That the memory card that it came with it is actually in another device now. This was the card that was in that device. 16 gigs, yeah, and it's functional. So if that's all you want is a bird feeder and a memory card, you're golden. With that, I think I'll just wrap this up, and thank you so much for watching this first episode. We'll see if we can't tighten up the conversation on future episodes, but if you like this, definitely give me a like so I know to do more of these episodes. It's kind of fun ordering something that is just so obviously the poster, that the seller didn't care enough to actually run a spell check. And I've seen some others that it's like, okay, even if that was another word in the English language, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what we can come up with. I'll be looking for other possible candidates. With that, thank you so much for watching.